Definitely edit that out.
Oh yeah, definitely. There will be, don't worry.
3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's your best buddy. It's Kale here. Fuck. We're here with another episode of the Wesley, but it's a weird ass intro.
It's your other best buddy here, Cam. How's it going, guys?
Yeah, the buddies. We're back. We're in the middle of our little more staggered releases here. I hope you guys liked the last one. That was our little nostalgic dive into February's past, but the other half of our new format here is we're just going to kind of look at like what went down in February. Let's do a little recap. I've been out of the loop, the West.
Let's do it.
But yeah, I don't know. How was your February, dude?
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's pretty good, I think. Yeah. Not like a lot happened. Pretty restricted, obviously. But I think overall it was a pretty decent month.
Fun, nice. Yeah, that was kind of when I sat down. I was like, all right, what happened this last month? Let's go. I was just like, I felt like nothing happened, but there's a decent amount of shit that kind of popping off, whether it's here in Alberta or around the world. But so yeah, that's kind of like, I think we're just gonna go through what happened in February. We're gonna start down like kind of zoomed in, like a little more local to us. We'll kind of do like Albertan bullshit and then decide our worst Burton of the month, and then we'll take a little break and then come back and zoom out to like Canada, US, rest of the world. But I don't know, the biggest thing that popped off to me, like, or caught my eye, is just like we finally had our budget come out, like the Alberta provincial budget. And did you hear much about that at all?
I've just seen like the presence it's done on universities and colleges are the main thing that I've seen that are getting.
Yeah, I think it was like 130 some million or something like that they cut from education.
Right.
Yeah, 135 million out of their budgets, which last year
they already
took 360.
Yeah, and I think that's focuses more so on post-secondary.
Yeah, more so. It looks like there's like a little bit of a cut in K to 12. They're taking a 60 some million cut, and then they like freeze funding after that, even though like the amount of kids enrolling goes up and up and up each year. So it's effectively a cut. Like if you have more kids with the same amount of money, less money spent per kid.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then
I guess the other hope is that with the post-secondary, it's like, oh, well, the colleges and universities can just increase tuition so they can subsidize it. So we'll attack them more and go slightly less over K to 12, which is ridiculous because, I don't know.
Yeah, I think CBC reported that like something like even just since like 2018 or something like that, like funding for universities has gone like 43% of it was from like tuition and like for the students. Or no, that was like what was the universities themselves had to buck up, and then the rest was provincially funded. And now it's up to like 52% has to come from university zone revenue, which all they ever do is hike tuition. It's not like they're going to fucking cut administrative costs or anything like that, right? So yeah, education's getting cut pretty hard, not as hard as last time, but it's interesting that like I think the pandemic kind of threw a wrench. Like they definitely love to cut healthcare, but they didn't do that as aggressively this time.
Yeah. I feel like the pressure, I mean, not that the pressure wasn't there on the education, but just given the pandemic and given the mental health crisis, you could say, and just like with addiction and so much other things that, like, I don't know, I think that's an area where as much as there's very few brain cells floating in that man's brain, that's one that I feel like he would be smart enough not to fuck with too much. He already has fucked with it enough. So
yeah, exactly, right. It's something like I think they said 4% increase. So they did like increase health budget, but then it's like frozen for the next year after that or something like that. So
right,
I don't know. So it's weird because like the health funding itself isn't being cut, but in the budget they do expect to pay about $1 billion less to government workers, and that includes workers in healthcare, education, and just like government workers, like government agencies and things like that.
Right.
So they're expecting to somehow pay $1 billion less, but they don't really say how. So that probably means though that there's going to be like layoffs and pay cuts probably.
Yeah, to certain sectors. Well, I mean, the one, not that it's a fortunate thing, but I imagine their hope is, and I think hope is a strong word because I just don't know if I see it happening in this year, is that these jobs that were created to support the pandemic, they would be able to rescind, right? Like they wouldn't need all those positions anymore, and then hence would save money.
Yeah, well, I don't even know what positions they created besides like contact tracers.
Well, for example, here, not that it's a hell of a lot of jobs and wouldn't put much of a dent in $1 billion by any means, but what I've seen done in Lethbridge is just like because of the homeless population, they've had to create positions essentially for like nurses, healthcare aides, and EMS to essentially like look and care for people in approved hotels because
Oh,
they can't have the homeless population running with potential positives just around everywhere, and then that in
mm,
itself creates outbreaks in like shelters and stuff like that. So like we have an actual hotel that's literally being used as an isolation center for these individuals. Not
shit.
that like that's that many jobs, but I mean there's a decent amount of jobs there.
Okay, I didn't even know. I
But
figured
I
like,
imagine like something like that obviously wouldn't even happen with COVID.
oh, of course not. Yeah, no.
So I'm assuming that's where the hope is, but like realistically, do we see that coming to an end this year? I certainly don't.
No, definitely not. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like what you'd expect, but like a little bit less intense. So it's like they still want to cut things. They still want to like cut taxes and stuff like that, and then
Yeah,
as a result, cut programs. But yeah, I definitely think they kind of were a little more tepid, just because both the pandemic's happening and also like people are getting a little bit like annoyed by other decisions they've made. So
right.
yeah, it's like not good, but it's not as bad as it could have been. Kind of is basically my takeaway. I think my favorite thing is just how much. Well, it's not my favorite. It's awful, but like how bad that fucking Keystone purchase was. Like
Oh,
so
I
fucking
know.
stupid, dude. Like I don't know. I think a current in the budget it estimates a loss of about 1.28 billion, which is
On a federal standpoint, right?
absurd. No, like that's Keystone. That's Alberta. That's the money that Kenny put in from like teachers and unions and stuff like
Oh,
that.
okay. Right.
So
Right.
I guess he gave like TC Energy, like TransCanada Energy, like a shit ton of loan guarantees, which is essentially like free money. It's like a loan, but if you can't pay it back, the government will pay it back for you. And he put that in, like he made that offer like 2 months after Biden got elected.
After?
Yeah, like Biden had said, I'm going to cancel the pipeline. And then he got elected. And then 2 months later, we sunk a shit, like gave a shit ton of fucking loan guarantees to TC Energy for the Keystone. And then it's not happening. So that's just money evaporated.
That's
Because
weird.
the corporation, they'll always do some like kind of accounting stuff. Be like, oh, we can't pay it back. We can't afford to. It defaults, which means when it's a loan guarantee, it goes to the guarantor, which is Alberta.
Right.
So taxpayers on the hook for a shit ton of free money for TC Energy essentially. So, and that's the thing. Like, it's not even like it doesn't even like include like dismantling the project or anything like that. That's going to be all on taxpayers dollar and just all around just such a bad move. Just gambled a bunch of money and lost it on like a pretty obvious gamble that wasn't going to work out. Like the guy said he was going to fucking cancel it. So
Yeah, like I don't know what the rationale behind that was. Like you just think that there's not, it's not going to happen, or like what? Or I'm going to convince him.
yeah, I don't know. Who fucking knows, man? I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to him. Like, yeah, it looks bad politically, but he was in there to give free money to oil companies. So like, mission accomplished. Like,
Right.
yeah. So budget bad. That's my take on it. Obviously, it's not very nothing new. Like, what we didn't expect a good one, right? But yeah, it's just so
No.
many weird things. Like they're creating some new position for like I think it's like environmental, social, and government secretariat within the cabinet, and that's essentially something that Kenny said was a joke. Like the climate risk assessment stuff is a flavor of the month, I think is the quote that he used. Like it's not worth investing in. But then in this budget, they're a $2 million position for some secretariat to
Two
basically,
million.
$2 million to like assess environmental risk of investments. And so it's just like, and like
Oh my God.
that war room is still getting $10 million this year to just do
Right.
really bad like PR and run really shitty Twitter accounts.
That's
Basically, they're
crazy.
giving contracts to their buddies to do bullshit, and they're just like raiding the pantry, right?
Yeah.
Just slashing and burning programs for the people that pay taxes for those services, and then using that tax revenue to either just further their own projects or just like give out weird contracts to their buddies. It's like so corrupt.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I love reading about it. It makes me feel really good. But yeah, more things in Alberta. This one fucked me up. Did you hear that there was some earthquake in Banff?
I did hear about that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Seen. Actually, I had someone on my Snapchat that was in Banff, and like they put on their story that they felt it or whatever.
Yeah, like it
But
didn't sound like much. Like one lady, some report, she was in like the liquor store and the wine bottles were rattling, right? But like
yeah.
it's super weird. I didn't even know that was possible like up here, but like I guess mountains are fault lines, so it's possible. But
I feel like I've heard in the past of one being in Banff, but I feel like that was also put back onto fracking.
oh, maybe.
I don't know.
Well, I remember a few years ago when we were down in Waterton, there was an earthquake in Montana that we could feel down there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was fucking. That was actually really fucking weird. It was like one of the odd nights that we went to bed early while everybody else partied downstairs. And yeah, we were like laying in the bed, and all of a sudden the bed just starts like smashing against the wall because we were in that old building, right? And so
Yeah.
I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, my mind jumps to earthquake, but I was like, "That doesn't happen in Alberta.
Yeah.
What the fuck?" And so I remember we run downstairs, and they had the music cranked. And we're like, "You guys, there's a fucking earthquake over here." They're like, "What do you know?" Like they didn't feel it because they had like music going in there on the lower level. And so I've never
Jeez.
felt like more of a crazy person, just like, you guys, there was just an earthquake. And then having like 20 people be like, no, there wasn't. And then the next morning I was vindicated. But
I've never felt an earthquake before, to be honest.
it's fucking surreal. Yeah,
I
just
mean,
like the ground is literally shaking. It's fucked.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I know I would not like it. I would
no,
shit my pants probably.
it's pretty anxiety inducing, even the little one. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. But speaking of fracking and I don't know. The whole coal mining debacle that we had in Alberta
Yeah.
here, that was really interesting to me. And I just had to like dive and find out what the fuck happened. And so, because like everybody's like kind of like dusted their hands off now, like problem solved, right? Because they came out and said, okay, sorry, we messed up. We're gonna put the coal policy back in place.
Hmm.
But there's still a shit ton of leases and stuff that they approved after they rescinded it that they are still going forward. Like there's a bunch of exploration projects, both from like way back that are just continuing, and then ones that they were given licenses to in that short time. I think they rescinded it last May, and then just reinstated it. And in that time, yeah, they've like awarded a bunch of leases and contracts to do some nice coal mining. So
In
yeah,
new areas though, or already existing areas?
no, in new areas. I'm looking at the Narwhal reported some of this. About 200,000 hectares of new coal leases issued since that policy change are still valid. So they when she came out and did that announcement, all they did was pause new coal leases, but they didn't reverse any of the ones that they granted since last
Right.
May. So there was like 6 specific exploration programs. So that's just when they do like build roads into the area and then do like test drills to see. 6 of those are still approved and are going ahead. That big grassy mountain project, that's still going through the approval process, and that's the one that people really got mad about, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's like an open pit mine. It's not on the category 2 lands, but it is on category 4. Like it's still
Hmm.
protected land, but mining is permitted. I don't know, it's just so much like legalese gobbledygook that like,
Yeah, I've heard a couple discussions. Well, I didn't really know this, but on I think it's the one in Sparwood.
mm-hmm,
Um,
the
you
tech
can
mine, yeah.
literally see it on satellite images of how much earth they've actually taken
Oh dude,
away.
yeah, like that's like the whole mountaintop removal process that they talk about. That's what they're doing in Elk Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's like 4 or 5 different mines kind of along there from like Elkford, Sparwood, Fernie. Like there's like a bunch of mines there,
Right.
and yeah, that's what they've been doing essentially. Yeah, it's like mountain top. So it's like the in coal in mining they get rid of what they call the overburden, which is like soil and sediment sitting on top of the coal. But it's I don't know. I read some reporting that was funny. It's just like sometimes the overburden can be a literal mountain, and so yeah, like it's like they can't just like go down and under. They just we just gotta get rid of this mountain, I guess.
Right. I guess if they go down and under, there's risk of collapse. I'm
Yeah, I
assuming
think
too
so.
high
And it's just
risk.
I think just like it's honestly probably just more cost effective because like it's probably like pretty complicated to get stuff out, both because of like collapse risk, but also just like having to like dig a tunnel and then ship things out of that tunnel versus being able to bring in fucking those giant coal trucks, right, and just load them up if it's an open pit. Like
Right.
I think it's just logistically just like is easier for them to do, but which sounds insane that removing a mountain is easier, but
I know.
and so yeah, it's just like she kind of just says that things just like no mountaintop removal, but like that's just like a specific type of surface mining, both like strip mining and open pit mining. So like they just kind of like dress it up with enough like double speak that it sounds like it's probably still able to happen. Like
Hmm.
so like all she said is that proposed exploration or development of coal on category 2 lands does not involve mountaintop removal. So that's the directive. But that just means anything like category 4 is still open to mountaintop removal.
Which is funny because I feel like what they intended to do happened because I have not seen or heard much rumblings on social media about this whole thing since they've rescinded that and put that policy back.
Well, no, yeah, like that's the thing. I'm like confused whether it was like yeah, this is either like just them fumbling and then people kind of not paying attention or like fucking genius political 4D chess, right? Cuz
Right.
essentially they do it secretly quietly, they rescind that policy and then give out a bunch of leases and then people find out about it and kind of have a meltdown and then they reverse course, but like yeah, those projects have still already like those leases have already been awarded.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's just yeah, it's like did they yeah, you could almost see how they could calculate, okay, we're going to like make a big gesture, like open it all up, people freak out, we'll roll it back, but only a little bit, and that little bit is what we wanted the whole time, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's an element of that is literally discussed in a room of how they're gonna plan things with when it comes to shit like that.
Yeah, maybe like that's kind of where I'm at. I was like that if that were the case, I would not be surprised, but as it stands, like I don't really think they're that capable. You
No.
know, I don't
Yeah.
think they're that I don't think they're that smart. Like,
Yeah. I don't
I
know.
mean, these are people that want to open pit coal mines while the earth's on fire. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if foresight is one of their virtues, but but as far as foresight goes, I alternate on the COVID shit, and again, I've like this is a sentiment I've said many times on this show is I don't want this to be like a hysterical talk about COVID for an hour show every week, but I mean it's a fucking lived reality that we're going to, so you got to engage with it. But
Yeah. Absolutely.
I flip flop a lot between like when it first hit, I was super paranoid, and then I got maybe a little bit flippant, like oh, it's not that big of a deal. But now I'm kind of like back, kind of pendulum swung back in the middle, and there is this biophysicist. She's at the UFC. I wish I could pronounce her name. It's like Gosha. Um, that's her first name. Sorry, Gosha Gasparowicz. But she's been doing a lot of modeling with that B117 variant, just like assuming that it's only 50% more contagious. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not even really whether it's like worse for you to get it or not, just the fact that it spreads easier. And like the modeling doesn't look good because like essentially like because it's better at spreading, just when community spread happens, it'll just like slowly overtake the amount of the old variant. So the old variant will go down and then that one will increase, which will just increase the rate of spread because it's more contagious. But essentially the way she's tracking it, this happened in the UK at the end of December, is that kind of as we did a little bit of lockdowns and things kind of flattened out and we get that little bit of like kind of like false confidence and then open things up back a bit. It wasn't as immediate as the old variant seeing that climb again, but it grows exponentially essentially. And so like she was doing some modeling that didn't even include like the reopening of restaurants and stuff. And even with that, like if restaurants were all locked down, she's predicting like 2,000 new cases a day by the end of March. I don't know. It's kind of fucking spooky.
Well, I feel like I don't know. I, yeah, I don't even know what. Like, I get that, but then why aren't we seeing it now? Like, what's preventing from the numbers to seeing now? Because now we're seeing it's like around 250, 300 cases a day now.
Well, the last update I looked at was at the end of the last week, and that was last week was the first week that we've had the average number of cases go up.
Yeah, in a
Like the
month.
average new daily, so like last week, because before the average amount of daily new cases per week was trending downwards, and then last week was the first to start trending up, and that's basically what this lady predicted in the middle of February.
Okay.
Yeah, so sorry, that's kind of like the why I'm bringing this up in the February retrospective is that this lady did some modeling in the middle of February, kind of looking at things like this is not good, especially on the trend of reopening. Like this is all taking into account, or no, sorry, not taking into account any reopening. This is like her looking at where we were at the end of January, mid
Right.
February kind of thing. And yeah, with that, it's just like it's just an exponential spike that because yeah, essentially what happens is that it was dropping, but then it's like you almost have like a lag time. So even though they reopened things like 2 weeks ago, things still feel good, right? But this is about the time when things should start
I
heating up for
kind of
people.
wondered that too. I actually was talking with my mom actually today, and I feel like through most of this pandemic, in comparison, Alberta to BC, um, BC was actually like quite less strict a lot of the time. Like because they were able to get things right,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were able to allow things to start happening again.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, like they're still in complete lockdown. Like they're like complete lockdown, and I was kind of shocked when she told me that today, which kind of
Hmm.
just like maybe they're anticipating this a little bit differently than old Jason Kenny.
Maybe like they're locking down again. You said, or they're
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Well, and that's kind of like what it looks like. It's just like it's because it has that lag time, and then now they're opening up the gyms and stuff, which is in a weird, goofy ass way.
yeah, that announcement was so fucked.
I don't know. It's hard for me to like kind of like try to like put this into like digestible, just conversational terms. But yeah, like just looking at the way it spreads and then the slight reopening, like basically even if we didn't reopen anything, we were going to have another big wave because of this new variant. But now because we had that little bit of a lull with the old one and we're reopening things, that's just like kind of adding like fuel to the fire essentially.
Right.
And so yeah, she's predicting like just like yeah, 2,000 new daily cases like by the end of March, early April, which like again because it expands exponentially by May that's going to look terrifying. And I think the most frustrating thing about all of this is that like using her modeling, if they had like just like did a real lockdown, you know, like actually lock things down, not just like restaurants for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason. Like if they did a real one at like the end of January, by mid March we could have zero COVID cases in Alberta. Period. Like literally just a month of lockdown, maybe 6 weeks.
Right.
Like if we just did it right,
Like
we
no
would have
school.
zero cases. Yeah, no school, like no restaurants, no travel. Just like very strictly like okay, everybody just sit at home, go get food, don't do anything else. And I know that sucks. I know that like that's what we were supposed to have been doing since the beginning and people that have been doing that would think that's a big deal cuz they've been doing it for so long, but most of us haven't to be honest. And
Well, the tough part with that too, though, is there's also always going to be people that can't do that.
well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, but like, who's really essential beyond like grocery stores and then like healthcare?
Mm-hmm.
What do you like to get the bare minimum of just keeping people alive while we kind of just like put a pause
Yeah.
on the world?
City
That's
workers, I'd imagine.
yeah, maybe. I mean, for like some maintenance stuff, but like you can go. You don't have to fix every pothole, especially if most people aren't driving. Like just
No, I
I don't
know,
know.
but like your garbage pickup and shit like
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, for sure. But yeah, that would be essential. Just like the gears that keep like daily life, like eat, shitting, pissing, sleeping, staying warm. Like just those
Yeah.
people, just
No,
keep that. And then I know it
I
sounds
mean,
ridiculous, but
well, no, it doesn't. I mean, we talked about this at the beginning of this podcast, like at the
mm-hmm.
beginning, like creating this podcast. And I think the unfortunate thing in this situation is because they've chosen to do this instead of just fucking having a true lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
They've essentially just made it where I just don't even think they could do a lockdown now. Like I really generally do not think they
Well,
could
they
even
wouldn't have
do
the
a
public
lockdown.
support for it now.
Yeah, there just would not like it would just not work because of how many people would fight against it. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
if they did it right, say 6 months to a year ago, we would be in a hell of a lot better position now.
Well, I think that's the thing that fucking annoys me is that it's only a 6 weeks. So that's the thing. We've been doing this weird yo-yo bullshit where life has been not normal now for almost like for a year now.
It's been a year, yeah.
It's been a year. So we've had a year of just kind of like disruptions to our daily living. And that's what people are like angry about. And I get it. This sucks. Like nobody's been having a great time in regards to that this year. But
Yeah.
that's what kind of gets my goat is that like, well, it was never even actually a real lockdown. So like by just taking this half-assed approach, we've just been kind of like just like mildly fucking things up for ourselves for a year. Meanwhile, people have been dying that didn't need to. And if we had just done that back then, like we'd be literally living a pretty fucking normal life by now. I think that's the thing that gets my goat. Is just like you hear people talking about how we're gonna have to do another lockdown, and they're like, "Oh, what about the small businesses?" It's just like, well, if you survived this past year of yo-yoing stops and starts, opens and closes, like yeah, that was hard to get through, and then a lot of them have closed as a result. We probably would have had less small businesses close if they
Yeah.
didn't throw a little hissy fit at the beginning and just actually let a real lockdown happen. Like, even for them overall, it would have been better for them to just take that 6 weeks hit rather than 2 weeks here and there over the course of a year. Like,
I think that's why I've been so frustrated with people too, and then, like especially with the whole fucking element of people truly still believing China had anything to do with this.
yeah.
Yeah, they're the ones fucking laughing because they actually did do a proper shutdown and are living life fairly normal from my understanding. I've seen videos of like actual like
Fucking
live
street parties.
concerts and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's like I don't know. We did something wrong clearly.
Definitely. Well, then that's because like the response it does seem unthinkable to us that you would just like shut things down and then like actually mobilize people to just make sure people are fed and housed, and that
Hmm.
just seems unthinkable
But
to
as
us,
much as
right?
that think it is unthinkable, it's at the same time I don't know if it is when you compare it to is this just what our lives are now of this like you said the yo-yo like
That's the
it's
alternative. That's
essentially
these.
going to be our lives for the foreseeable future. We've already had to deal with a year of this shit, so it's like
Yeah,
at some point someone's gonna have to change it. Like how long do we do this whole yo-yo thing before someone fucking realizes a we just say fuck it and live life normal and let the virus spread, or b we do the complete shutdown. Like it
hmm
has to be one of those
and
options. It
either one of
honestly
those is you're
does.
gonna have a hard time for a
Yeah.
while.
Oh yeah.
Whichever, and
Absolutely.
I think sitting at home is gonna be a lot less bad than if it
Oh, I
rips through the
100%
population
agree.
and overwhelms the fucking hospitals, right? Because then
Yeah.
it's not. People think that you talk about it like you're scared of getting COVID. It's like it's not that. It's the fact that if the fucking yeah, only 1% of people get really ill. But if all of the 1% of the population fills the hospitals, well, you're shit out of luck if you fucking break your arm or something. Like it just fucks up the normal functioning of the healthcare system.
Yeah.
That's the concern. It's
Well,
not
and
just
there's
about
how many
COVID.
of hundreds of thousands of even Albertans that are waiting important surgeries that
Yeah,
could kiss that goodbye. Cancer
exactly.
treatments potentially kiss that goodbye. Like you just like so many things that just gets backed up in the system because of it.
Well, exactly. And I guess that's what it is. It's like you said, eventually someone's gonna have to realize, and I mean, I hope so. I think they could probably just keep doing this bullshit forever and just refuse, because that's what it is right now. It's essentially a refusal to acknowledge fucking reality.
Yeah.
You hit this terrain, this situation, and these are your options. Yeah, either just kind of let it buck and just fuck things up, or do like a hardcore lockdown.
And
But
to
by
like I
denying
don't
that
know.
and just like let's keep things as normal as possible, and just this half-assed yo-yo back and forth, just trying to let people still have their like dinners out and their lashes done. By doing that, yeah, it's just like you're just prolonging this like fucked up limbo where nothing is quite right. Like you don't get your normal life back, but you also don't get to just get it back sooner. You just do this
Hmm.
weird half-assed limbo. It drives you nuts, but
I'd love to talk to someone who's kind of more so on the, not necessarily an anti-masker, but just like an anti-COVID restriction person. Because like I'd be curious to know like where's the rationale and understanding, like do you a just don't care that the system's gonna get backed up and shit's gonna hit the fan in that sense? Or do they just generally don't believe that's the case? Like do they not believe that there's these hospitalizations and that the hospitalizations will continue to rise and rise and rise if we just said fuck it? Like
Oh,
where's the understanding there? Like I
I
know
think it's
I
just a
sit
lack of
on
one, right? Oh,
I
sorry.
yeah. Well, no, I just I don't know where I sit half the time anymore because I'll be completely honest. I as much as like when we started this, I was very much of like that lockdown, and I still am in agreement that that would fix the things, but because of that element where I just don't think I have faith in the people here, like there's a part of me that it honestly is just like just fed up and like I just don't even know what to do anymore. Like
Well,
it's
that's kind of
like
where I'm at. I hate talking about this stuff because it's so nuanced, and I don't even know where I stand. I don't know. Just to sum it up, essentially, because I don't know anything. I'm not a fucking virologist. Nobody does, and the fact that the actual scientists are like sounding the alarm worries me. But we don't know. So I guess my takeaway from this is that I think things are going to get really bad at the end of March, early April. I hope to God that the next time we record one of these episodes, that's not the case. I can't wait. I really hope that next time we do a little update or in the loop on March, that I can say I was wrong and I'm an idiot. That's the hope.
yeah, yeah, no, I get it, and it's tough, right? Because it's just like I can see what I can see both sides still, and like yeah, this lady's saying that, but then like why isn't a bunch of other like professors or shit come out and saying it too, right? So it's just
hmm
like I don't know.
I think a
I
bunch
think
of
I
them
don't.
are,
That's the
but
thing. Like even the people that like know a lot, I still don't think anyone truly can confidently know. Like I just don't, because I just don't think that we know enough.
yeah, like that's the thing is like they can kind of paint general trends, like a general like a sketch
Yeah.
out idea kind of thing. But yeah, I mean anything can happen. So it's not it's silly to take these graphs and like as the gospel truth, but
Hmm.
they do give us some insight and
Hmm.
some predictability. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm not denying it by any means. I would not be surprised if at the end of March we're back to square one again. That it wouldn't surprise me.
yeah, I
But
mean specifically she predicts like the worst lockdown yet
yeah.
at the beginning of April. So we'll see. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But I guess the last thing in February that I thought was kind of funny is we had Family Day in February. That's an Albertan holiday. Family Day. I think it's the third Monday of every February.
It's only Alberta.
Yeah. I think like
Oh.
lots of places. I think lots of places have started celebrating Family Day, but it's usually just called something different in a lot of places.
Oh, okay.
Um, but Alberta's had it since like 1990, I think, whereas most places only have been doing that holiday since like 2007. But yeah, since 1990 we've had it, and this is a Vice article, but I thought it was a pretty fun read. I like the headline. The true meaning of Canadian Family Day is cocaine. So I guess we had an ex CFL player as our premier in 1990. I didn't know that. Don Getty. And so I guess he was at like a premier's like conference in Saskatoon, and his 31-year-old son Dale was arrested in an Edmonton motel room on trafficking charges after trying to sell an ounce of cocaine to an undercover cop.
Jesus.
Yeah, and so it was like a huge embarrassment for Getty. Like he lost his seat in the next election and stuff like that. But before he did that, I think, yeah, 6 months later in the throne speech, they announced that they were bringing in a new February holiday so that families could spend more time together. And Family Day was born. And so there's like rumors about how he was feeling guilty for neglecting his family as a politician and yada yada yada. And he always denied that, but I don't know, a little piece of Alberta history I didn't know about. That's
Jeez,
pretty
I had
funny.
no idea about that. That's funny. That's fucked.
Yep,
Hmm.
good old Alberta, buddy.
Or a guy invents a bomb and kills 100,000 people just like that.
But speaking of good old Alberta, let's go to our worst Burtons of the month.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Let's do it. It's a lot of like videos. I don't know if we have to react to all of them or even if I'll keep it in, but there's some doozies. Did you hear about that one cafe in Muir, Alberta? That was just like basically openly defying the fucking restaurant, like the restaurant restrictions, and was just serving people anyway.
I actually don't know if I did.
Oh?
Oh.
Well, yeah. So there was this guy in Muir running a cafe. I think it was in January. Yeah, they reopened for dine-in services, even though it wasn't allowed. So then AHS was like filing an injunction, trying to get it court ordered to close, yada yada yada. But then just recently they dropped the case, and not only did they drop the case and they're not pursuing it anymore, but they paid all his fucking legal fees for him.
What?
Yes. It's fucking absurd. I mean, the reasoning was that like, well, now that restaurants are open again, we can't really be prosecuted. But he was flouting the orders. He was defying them.
But and that's the shit that just drives me nuts. Not even that this guy's not getting in trouble. I honestly don't even know how much I care about that. But to rescind, pay his illegal fees. That's
To
just
pay his
showing
legal
you
fees.
again that it's just like, okay, yeah, no, it doesn't matter. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Because it's just like, if you guys just disagree with the government and run away with it and do what you want to do, we won't do anything.
You
about
won't have any fucking...
No consequences.
No consequences whatsoever. Yeah. It's fucking absurd. That's why I honestly, he's kind of the reason why I changed it from dumbest Burton. Because, like, just the worst. Because, like, that's not dumb. I mean, fuck. Why not? You got to make some money when nobody other restaurants did, and then you got your fucking shit paid for. So,
yeah.
Doesn't seem very dumb to me. But what an asshole.
Yeah, he's a dick, but yeah, he's definitely not dumb.
But if we do want to get both dumb and assholes, these fucking Edmonton cops, dude. Ooh. This just gets my fucking gall going, you know? Look at these fuckheads. So yeah, they fucking... It's at a central LRT station. Ah, fucking ads. Fuck you.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. So you guys know who we are, right?
No.
You've
Oh,
never
fuck.
heard of us?
Doesn't matter who you are. You can do whatever you want.
You can't do whatever you want. But I can because I'm a cop.
Which is fine,
Yeah, you
all
just
right?
have to have the masks on
Yeah,
inside.
absolutely.
You
We'll
can
make
definitely
sure.
help as many people as you want.
Wonderful.
as
We'll
long as they
make
eat
sure that
outside.
we have the masks for everybody on. Perfect. As well, we give out masks.
Okay.
You know, so
people can't eat in
it's
here
not.
without a
Yeah,
mask, right?
yeah, of course.
But they are.
Well, you know what? If they're hungry, yeah. You guys.
That smug bastard just
please.
waving at the camera too.
But we've got your badge numbers, right?
Okay.
Come on, Drew.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. You can
Okay.
have our badge numbers, man.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? We've.
So
You know what?
So yeah,
We're
I don't know.
under extreme
Essentially what's
weather.
happening, she kind of explains it here.
Yeah, there's lots of shelters. The city provides for those.
So they're just kicking homeless people out
Yeah.
of an LRT station,
Essentially,
giving them
yeah.
shit
Yeah.
for not wearing masks in a fairly large facility, giving them shit for eating food and not.
So it is
finding
minus-
somewhere else
feels
to
like
eat when they
minus
have no
33,
homes
and
to
EPS
actually.
has just kicked everybody that was taking shelter and food and clothing from the Bear Clan. And EPS has just come and kicked everybody out
Oh,
of the
okay, it's
warp
Bear
and
Clan,
sent
so
them
similar to
eating outside.
we have something like that here.
Oh really?
Wow, they can't even
Yeah.
stand
That's
here.
nice.
They're not. It's not the Bear Clan though. I can't remember the name of it. I don't know why it slipped my mind.
Yeah. If you're standing still, that's loitering.
So
Yeah, I just want to hear her bit at the end here. Actually, just hear the cops at the end here. They're so fucking smug.
Oh my God, EPS, can't we do better than this? EPS, really? People just want to eat. People just want to eat, EPS, that's it.
And I agree. They should be able to.
Oh
just
my
can't do it in here.
God.
This isn't a restaurant.
You know
You just
what?
have to do it out there.
No, we have been feeding them all through the cold snap here every Wednesday and every Sunday. They know that when they come
Yeah.
here that they will get fed.
Fucking hell.
And yes, shelters are at capacity. There is no place for these human beings to go and eat. But do you guys care? No, because you guys can go home to a nice warm
Yeah,
spot.
and you know they
right?
fucking know they're
And
goddamn
eat
criminals
all
and
you
just walking
want.
away like that. Like I guess they've been feeding them. Yeah, she said they're every like twice a week or whatever. But just the rationale that no, you can't be in here without a mask. It's a health risk. And so like then to fucking throw like, no, you have to go outside then. So yeah, they just kick these people out of a warm LRT station when we had a really bad cold spell there.
Yeah, no, I mean, given the timeline, for sure, it was crazy cold. It's an LRT station, which I've seen Edmonton LRT stations. They're actually really large. Like, there's
Yeah.
lots of room. Even if you came across an unmasked individual, you would walk around. Also, we can fucking go to restaurants, so it's just like you can sit in a restaurant without a goddamn fucking mask on.
That's the part I don't get. So if eating without a mask is inside a building is dangerous, then why the fuck are restaurants open?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the logic there, right? So essentially, like the takeaway from that here, what I'm hearing what that cop is saying is, you only deserve to eat inside in the warmth if you can either afford a home or afford to go to a restaurant. That's essentially what he's saying. So if you're homeless,
Or
like, fuck
white.
you. Or white, yeah, basically. Yeah, there's definitely a racial element there, especially because Bear Clan is the ones feeding them, right? So yeah, real cold blooded, and just to like be such a smug prick about it, like this isn't a restaurant. It's like, yeah, that's the point, buddy. They can't fucking go to one, like. Yeah, so definitely a front runner, those fucking pricks.
No, yeah, those guys suck.
But yeah.
Sage Clan, that's what ours down here is called.
Oh, and Lethbridge? Cool.
Yeah.
No, that's really good work, man. Like, I'm happy that stuff exists, that people are out there doing that stuff.
Yeah, no, they seem like a great service.
There's obviously some cracks. Like, the idea, like, well, there's shelters. That's the solution. Well, like, you don't engage with the fact that the shelters are at capacity.
Like, they're not only at they're at capacity, a lot of them are just ridden with freaking COVID as well. So it's just
that
like,
too, yeah.
These people deserve a place to go, and God forbid an LRT station is a place they choose to hang out in for a while to stay out of the cold.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because you know that I could go plop my ass, open a bag of Doritos, and would probably be fine. It's purely just fucking anti-poverty, just a war on the poor, essentially. And yeah, they're up there. I'm thinking they're probably gonna be my winner. But I also did like some dude, you know Janice Irwin, right? She's an MLA in Edmonton.
I think so, yeah.
She's an
NDP
MLA, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, her office in Edmonton got fucking like vandalized with like they spray painted on the outside of the office Antifa scum in like giant fucking letters.
Jesus.
Or no, not scum, Antifa liar. So I mean, he's a dipshit for sure. He's up there for a
he got caught.
Burton. No, I don't even know that. No, nobody got caught. It's just like, are you kidding me? You think
we're
like,
giving an award to just whoever did that?
Yeah, whoever did that. But also, I did want to touch on how fucking stupid the NDP's response was, because like Janice Irwin tweeted it with like she posts a picture of it. Says, "Good morning to everyone who continues to denounce racism and white supremacy, no matter how angry or uncomfortable it makes some people." Solid statement that you'd think anybody could get behind, because those are bad things. But and so then the NDP retweeted it with the comment, in case you missed it, Antifa means anti-fascist. So if you're on the side of anti-fascist, then... And then they deleted it like 2 hours later. So the one time the NDP actually like makes like a bold statement, and then they walk it back. It's just perfect Alberta NDP. Like classic. Just really, you can't even like take a stand on that. Like, I know the whole Antifa discourse gets kind of stupid. Like, there's a lot of kids that think they're, like, fucking revolutionary freedom fighters because they post that Antifa is good. Like, okay, it's kind of just, like, a dumb debate that I don't even pay attention to, usually.
Yeah.
But just that really highlighted to me. It was just like, oh, wow, the NDP are completely fucking spineless. Cool.
Yeah, no. As much as I generally support them. They do frustrate the hell out of me still at times.
Yeah. And then this is the old cream of the crop. I wanted to bring back one of these, let's just laugh at some anti-maskers. It's always a good time. So there's a couple protests. There was one in Chinook, like a anti-lockdown protest in Chinook on the 13th. And there's some good choice bits. I think we should check these out. There's some nice videos here.
I'm excited. I don't think I've seen these. Is it the Jabberwockies again or no?
No, I wish they were that cool. That was at least surreal. I thought that was neat, but no, these guys are just kind of garden variety psychos. So yeah, this person tweeted Chinook right now on February 13th.
No more fake news. No more
I'm good.
No more lies. No more lies. Hospitals are empty. Hospitals are empty. No more lies. How you doing? No more lies. End the lockdown. End the lockdown.
Oh my god,
I'm good. Bringing your kids to it, right? That's insane. These kids going to school not wearing their masks because mom told them not to. I do love it's delicious. Chanting "End the lockdown" as you walk in a large group through a shopping mall, one of the least essential services you could ever think of.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like much of a lockdown to me, buddy, if you can get together with your friends and go walk in the mall.
Well, they're being escorted by police.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of understand that in the sense of well, who knows what might go down, so police should be around there, but yeah, just did you not think about for 2 seconds? You're so angry. I am so sick of this lockdown. They won't let me leave my home. I'm gonna go to the mall and protest not being allowed to leave my house. What the fuck? You didn't think for 2 seconds to see that makes no sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so fucked. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even really notice that the first time I watched it. Seeing people lead their kids by the hand through that is...
It's just sad.
It's fucked up.
I don't know. I get people's frustrations and they're tired, but I don't even know. This is just a rabbit hole, but it's just
it really is
ridiculous. I don't know.
But there's this one. This buddy also showed up at Chinook, and there's one lady that he talks to that absolutely annihilates me. She's fucking hilarious.
So it's not isolated. What that means is it's a hoax. You gotta find out the truth about your mask. Don't believe the media.
But viruses are very real. I got COVID-19 in August. I was very sick. I still kind of recovering from it because it affected my health. So when you see these anti-maskers, I get what they're protesting. They're upset with what's the mismanagement of the government. I don't think they're upset about the mask itself. The virus is real, it's very real, and we need to protect ourselves.
Vaccines is not the solution. Vaccines is Satanism. It has aborted baby cells. They're killing our kids, and this is not humans.
What the fuck?
That's amazing. Vaccines is Satanism. What the fuck? You think it's
Who is this guy? This guy's trying to be fucking...
Yeah, all brakes no gas, all gas no brakes or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah,
totally. The oversized suit. Come on, buddy. Don't do that.
He's
Same
ripping it off for sure.
Fuck.
But that said, I'm glad he went out because that lady is something else. These people aren't human.
Vaccines are aborted baby cells. Okay.
It's Satanism. Holy shit.
Yeah.
This lady's off the deep end. Maybe that's the lady from Edmonton.
H&M?
H&M?
Yeah, it's cheap.
Cheers, man.
It's good.
That lady's streaming on her iPad.
Unite together. Don't show your kids that slavery is fine.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
I love that he did that. That was awesome.
Take a look. Yeah, those are some good ones, man. I liked that. It's like the Metal Militia crew out, right? Like just
Yeah.
So you're right. I guess you're right. I'm sitting here like we should lock down. Let's shut everything down so that we have COVID zero, and then I guess I kind of forget that those people exist.
Oh yeah, no. Hearing the stories from schools right now, like it's just, I don't know. Like Logan has like she was telling me some stories, and just like a kid saying that masks don't do anything, and refers to the prime minister as Mr. Dress Up and shit like that.
Mr.
Like,
Dress Up, holy shit.
yeah. It's like, oh my god, like you parents are just fucking, like I don't know, it's just sad.
I
Like,
mean,
it's
all parents
it-
brainwash their kids, but there's a few different damaging strains for sure.
Yeah, it's just sad. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they're up there. It's tough. But then yeah, did you heard about? So that's kind of it for that Chinook protest, which I thought was pretty.
Oh yeah, that was entertaining.
It's fucked
Don't know
up.
if it's the dumbest Burtons of the week, but entertaining for sure.
For sure. But as far as that, there was another. So that was on the 13th, and then the next weekend there was that big one in Edmonton, the March for Freedom or whatever, right?
Okay.
And so that one was pretty fucked up. It sounds like there's some pretty unsavory types mixed in with like the usual anti-vax, like Earth is flat and COVID's a fake hoax kind of crew. In with them were some like kind of fucking Sons of Odin type, like fucking white supremacist neo-Nazi people. And it came to light that like during the organizing, a lot of like they did use a lot of images from Charlottesville or whatever, that fucking big one that happened in 2016. And they were like basically posting photos of that rally being like, this is what we want. So a bunch of these people in Edmonton showed up with tiki torches and everything. And we're fucking walking around with those. Yeah, so not good. Not good. Like I think I do see some frustrating discourse like when people were talking about this stuff, like in the comments. I fucking hate using the word discourse, but the conversation, I guess. It is frustrating because not everybody's like a news junkie that pays attention to all this stuff, so not everybody understands the significance of intentionally bringing tiki torches to a rally like that.
Yeah.
So it is kind of causing this weird culture war divide where people that are aware of that are like, wow, these people are like racist fucks. This is not good. And then the average person is just like, what? What does tiki torches have to do with racism? You know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of this weird divide lately where like some people are like really hysterical about these people. Like, oh my God, there's racists marching in Edmonton. And then some of the like more like just like your average person, or maybe someone who's on the verge of like an anti-mask type thing, right? When you see that, and to you, all these people are doing is protesting lockdowns, and then you see someone denounce that as racist, that's just going to kind of almost like cement your position as just like, oh, well, maybe we're onto something with this anti-vax stuff if they have to get desperate and make up crazy claims like that about us. Like, I could almost see how that would feed and almost just like send someone further down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
If they don't understand
At the same time, it's sad that like those original, like those people that you were saying about before, where they may not be aware. It's like at least look into it, man. Like, I get it, you're an anti-masker, you're pretty naive in that sense, but understand that fucking taking a tiki torch to a rally of people is probably not the best idea.
Not a great idea, right? So,
and it doesn't take much to understand what, like, I don't know. It's
yeah, no, it shouldn't be that much of a leap, but it's just kind of frustrating all around. But there's a fun video here of I can't believe I used the word fun, but this guy, like one of the organizers of that March for Freedom, getting arrested by the cops. It's pretty good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they actually arrested somebody. Imagine that.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. I didn't do anything. Don't touch me. No. Let him go. Don't touch me.
I like his Gucci toque. I never noticed that. Guys just getting carried along.
Looks like a lot of redneck white people.
Yeah. Well, almost exclusively. But yeah, that's a fun one.
Fuck, man. It's just embarrassing. It makes me embarrassed to be potentially labeled as those kind of people.
Like an
because of the
Albertan,
way I
right? Like,
look.
well,
I mean,
especially like,
we're bearded white dudes. Like
yeah.
it's like, fuck, man. Like, I would never want to even be considered anything like those people.
Well, especially when that's like the only real headlines coming out of Alberta is these people. It's just like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I hate. Yeah, it's embarrassing now to have a red plate when you leave the fucking province. But
Yeah.
I do love. There's something ironic about those guys. That one dude just screaming in that cop's face, "Corruption!" And it's like, those are the types of people that I think like during Black Lives Matter, they would have been the ones posting like "Back the Blue" and like "Blue Lives Matter" and shit.
Well, that's
right?
the thing. Like that I find that so interesting because you're right. It's this, and I think that right there reveals how fake and how ridiculous these people are. And I shouldn't apologize for that, but like realistically, you're right, because it's like those same people would support the blue when it came to a race matter, but when it comes to a matter that affects their lives because they have to put a fucking mask on to go to a store, or because they can't go to the gym or go hunting with their buddies, like, then it affects them. Fuck the police. But as soon as it's a race matter and it has nothing to do with them because they're the privileged one, there's the white folks, then it's oh yeah, support
Just
the blue.
follow
Like
the
it's
rules.
yeah, that's
Yeah, right. Like they're always ones like, well, you shouldn't have broke the law. It's like, well, you should have put on a mask. Like, fucking, like
exactly.
it kind of implies two things. Either A, they are just now, because it's affecting them, as you say, they're just kind of now waking up. Like, oh, they're realizing that the cops are like the violent arm of the state that's used to like oppress people. They're either just waking up to that fact, or they've been aware of it the whole time. And you're right, they're just okay when it's
well, and I
that are
guess
under the boot. Yeah,
there would be a hope that these individuals would wake up to that fact, but I have no hope for these individuals to think that. It's they're going to treat each section of what they're fighting or what they're supporting as separate. Unfortunately,
yeah, you're right. There's just like no consistency.
They're not gonna. Yeah, it's not gonna be an overlapping thing of like, oh, we supported the blue, but now fuck the blue. As soon as all of a sudden it's a race war again, and you have Black Lives Matter protests, these are gonna be the individuals fighting.
Yeah, they'll be
like,
back on it, right? They'll forget that they were just screaming in their face.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what ticks me off, man, is just like, so these are the people, like, the people that were just like backing the blue are out like confronting the cops, but meanwhile all the people that like hashtag fuck the police and stuff, all they do is tweet, you know? So it's just like, it's kind of like almost embarrassing, both like that they're that silly and making the rest of us look bad, but it's also kind of embarrassing for people that are like support things like defunding the police and things like that. It's just like, why are these the ones to beat you to the punch, to be the ones to like ironically chant serve and protect at them as they like take someone down? Like, that's fucking hilarious, dude. Just chanting serve and protect while they're like fucking taking somebody down. Like, if like, I almost wanted to be like, fuck yeah, but then I remember these guys are like not on my side. So it's like frustrating because I'm like, well, it's fucking cool, but for the wrong reasons, you idiots. Like,
but where do you think they got the saying from, though? Which is kind of funny. The exact people that they would harass and throw under the bus and support the police behind. So it's just like, but yeah, you're right. Like, I get like it, and in some ways, there's an element where I agree with it. Like, it is bullshit that they're arresting this guy at a protest, yet this business owner continually opens his business and continues to do. And hey, guess what? Not only did we let him, we're going to pay any expenses that we may have caused him because of this battle we had with him. So there's an element, and it's like, really serve and protect. Like, absolutely, I agree with that. But at the same time, I just don't agree with what they're fighting for.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's just like, as someone who's like spent a lot of time really trying to like, and again, like, I don't know anything. I'm a dummy. Like, I don't want to ever like have like an air of superiority about this stuff. But like, I've like put in a lot of effort the past few years, especially mostly because like Trump happened and everybody lost their fucking minds. Like, everybody in the Western world English speaking world had their brain melted by Trump being elected fucking 5 years ago now almost. And part of that was me too. I had my brain melted. It seemed so surreal. And so I spent a lot of time really trying to like get an understanding of politics and like the way things function in the economy. And so then as a result, I've tried to like form, okay, what do I think? What do I believe in? What are my values, you know? And I've tried to like kind of like build like a consistent set of those values, it's also showed me that, and not through their fault, like not just these types of people, but honestly, everybody. Nobody has consistent, coherent politics at all.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because none of us have the time or interest to like spend time looking into this shit.
Yeah.
But just this stuff really brings to light to me. It's like, oh man, the world is crazy and our perception of it is always crazy. And like nobody has any idea what's going on, essentially, is my takeaway.
Well, I think we've talked about this in the past too, but I just think with these this fighting and stuff like that, it just speaks to like the privilege. Because it's like, for a majority of these people taking their kids to Chinook Mall and stuff like that, they are privileged people in the fact that they've been lucky and their family has been lucky that it hasn't been ravaged by COVID-19.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that you have an anti-masker screaming against the shutdowns that has lost a mom, a dad, a grandpa, a grandma to COVID-19, right? So it's like, it's just sad that, again, it's another unfortunate situation where white people use their privilege to just try and make their lives even better instead of trying to help the situation as a whole. Like, it's just like,
well, and like, are they maybe they have lost somebody and they're just like using this as like a weird form of denial, you know? Because there's that whole thing about how, oh, they're like the number of people that have died from COVID is a hoax because anybody that dies, they just label it COVID even though it wasn't, you know? So maybe that might be their weird grieving process, is like, oh no, they defiled my family member that died by lying and saying it was COVID. And, you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I
could see that sped off in a million ways, but
But
I don't know. I think in their interactions with the police, I think you're right that like the whole white privilege thing plays a role, because most of us definitely have like a privileged relationship with the police. Just by
well, there's not that element of fear.
Yeah, well, this is a force that was literally created to subjugate, kidnap, and like facilitate the genocide of indigenous people. So yes, they're gonna have a very fucking different perception of them. But I don't know how much it plays with like regards to like the COVID lockdown stuff, because like a lot of the people that I see posting, like weird anti-mask shit, or the people even at those, like rallies, not all of them. Some of them don't look that well off. Like they would be what some would call white trash, which is like, I hate that word, but yeah, like these people probably aren't privileged. They're probably having a hard time. They probably lost their jobs. They're probably like, it's frustrating that
they're
they
not
don't
privileged on the sense of wealth, but they're privileged on the sense of their color of their skin. They don't see that side of the fear of like what a police officer and a man or someone in uniform may present, right?
Yeah.
But yes, I agree with you, and I as much as it is a shitty word, like the white trash element, trailer trash element, definitely is quite noticeable in these crowds. But at the same time,
they should be aware then, like if you've lost your job, then that should like make you wake up. Oh, they don't care about you. They're making your life harder. Like, why are you supporting that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just like push back just because like, I think if you're like a poor person, I don't know how much does white privilege really help you. Really, like I think like the wealth class thing really does facilitate more of like what your experience is going to be like. Like, so I think So for those people that have probably had a hard fucking time, barely making ends meet, probably struggled with addiction, you know, yada yada yada, to have someone like an educated, well-off person tell them that they're privileged, probably rubs them the wrong way. And it's not to justify them for denying it, because they probably do, but like when you're fucking working 3 jobs to make it, you're not going to take the time to learn the history of racial oppression and understand how maybe abstractly you might be experiencing a privileged existence. Like, that doesn't matter.
As much as I agree with that,
on the table.
I agree, but then they're also hypocrites in the sense that if they can't invest that time to understand that, yet they can invest the time to go to these rallies. So like,
yeah, that's true.
And
you're probably right. Like if you're at these rallies, you probably aren't you're probably like, you wouldn't have the time to go to these if you.
Yeah, like I guess that's where the frustrating part is. And then them saying like, I can't remember, one of the things they were chanting in the Chinook Mall was something about like educate yourselves
Yeah,
or
you gotta
something like that.
learn the truth. Yeah.
Learn the truth, and it's just like, I don't know. And, like, I just more appreciate the fact of if just people saying like no one knows the truth, because the fact of the matter is we don't like know that much. Like,
No, yeah.
I like that we've brought interesting things to both sides. Like, yes, this woman predicts that we're back to square one, if not 10 times worse by the end of the month, and in some ways I'm sure she's not wrong, but at the same time I have no faith in necessarily agreeing with her either. But then there's the other side where it's like, no, I'm not going to agree to just saying fuck it, let's open everything up and just, so it's just like, it's an unfortunate thing where I think we are in the majority, where it's a section of just like, we're fed up, but we understand that we're here because of the failed attempts of our government, and it's shitty no matter what ends up happening. Like, it's a lose-lose situation, in my opinion.
That's a good way to say it. Most of us, I think, are feeling sick and tired of it, confused by it all.
Yeah.
And just.
But like, it's pretty ridiculous to think that we should have all the answers either. And I kind of find it funny with these individuals that show up to these protests thinking they know it all. It's just like, well, you're just as ridiculous as the government then, essentially, because your side is just as right as the other side, which isn't like, not that it's split into sides, but you know what I mean? Like, it's
I get it.
No one knows. Like, we really don't. Like, this is like a new territory, and yes, there's people that do kind of know, but I don't know. It's I don't know.
I guess that's the thing. It's just like the science. I know everybody trusts the science, which is just like a little bit reductive, but yeah, like.
But it's not like it's like a climate change argument, right? Like, it's not like it's a flat Earth argument, right? Like, there's not like a science in the sense of like, as much as like I agree with like maybe that woman, and like I would trust her more than I would trust a lot of people in this. It's just like, we don't have a year. We also only dealt with COVID for a year, right? Like, so there's only so much we can actually look into and understanding it, and just the actual process of it spreading. Whereas it's like, yeah, fight tooth and nail to someone fucking who claims the Earth is flat. Of course, like. It's not. Sure. That's not even an argument.
But I think that's why I liked her stuff. It was interesting, is because it's not specifically about COVID. Like, she's just a biophysicist. Like, she just studies how viruses in general spread. So that's why I felt it was useful analysis. But yeah, I think you're right in that, like, you can't take anything as the gospel truth. You know, you just gotta kind of read widely and try to formulate your own opinions on these things, and with that, understand, like, be open to being wrong, I think, is the best way to avoid this shit.
Yeah, and being okay with being wrong, and understanding that just because you read something like that doesn't. I hate this. I honestly hate the label of fake news, because it's just like, that's not fake news. It's a prediction, and people are wrong. People aren't always right. Fucking. No one's screaming at their TV at David Spence because he gets the fucking weather wrong for 2 days from now. Like, it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like that's a prediction, and chances are sometimes it's right, but you know what? Tonight it might end up fucking snowing. Like, it's just like, I don't get and there's not like protests because we got the fucking weather wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
that's another aspect of shit that they say that I'm like, oh, you're like close. It's like, you're right, but for the wrong reasons, you dummies. Like, the whole fake news thing. Like, like, the news media is fairly corrupt and a little bit biased, and we should address that. But to just decry it as fake news because they don't proclaim Trump the fucking savior is like, fuck. Okay.
Well, and that's what I think that's unfortunate happened. Is I think fake news was used like on a social media element, and just like on corporation news networks that were biased. But then at the same time, it's now just being used to just for these far right people to just state that anything they don't agree with, it's fake news. Fuck it, it's fake news. And it's like, well, no, it's not fake news.
It's pretty easy, like cudgel just to smash on things, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's a nice little.
I could vent about this forever, but when it
Same,
comes to the
let's-
best Burtons
Yeah,
of
let's
the
we gotta
week,
decide on that. Who do
or
you want to see as
month,
the worst Burtons of the month out of that? Out
in
of that
my
crop?
opinion, just because I'm tired of the COVID shit, fuck the EPS, like
Yeah.
Edmonton Police Service, like that's ridiculous. Like it's just like, how can you? And this is the part where when it comes to the homeless population that it fucking bothers me, and I think it's because I grew up in a household of a figure that also was kind of like the police in that sense in this situation where it was okay to make fun of the homeless population, and honestly I hate that was something that happened in my life, but it's just sad because it's like, how can you as a police officer, white male, be privileged, have probably a family, a home, be okay that you're kicking homeless people in minus 40-degree weather that are just trying to eat some fucking food in a goddamn LRT station? Like, it's not like it's
a public space.
Yeah, it's not like it's a mall or I don't even know. But yeah, you're right. Like even then, but like these people should start serving the food to the homeless population in the fucking entrance of the police station. Like,
yeah, they should. Yeah.
Like really, like where are they supposed to do this? And I get it. Like there are like soup kitchens and stuff like that are out there, but having these groups like the Sage Clan or Bear Clan that these guys were are fantastic. And they're generally ran by indigenous populations, and that is good because when you're dealing with indigenous people, like it's best to have indigenous people helping indigenous people because they're going to feel the most trusted that way, not by a fucking white man in a uniform. So
any uniform, whether it's a cop or even like the healthcare, like there's a lot of there's enough evidence of like racism in healthcare, so it's just like you're right,
100%. It's
not so much like they should take care of their own, but it's just like I could see why they would be distrustful of any white authority.
And I don't mean it. I know someone could take it that way, of taking care of their own. I know what you meant by that, but it's just like it's not about that. I just know like that it works out the best for everyone that way. And if we as a white person go in and say something like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. That's just not going to help the situation.
Yeah. It's kind of like a little paternalistic too, like the white savior shit, right? Like, oh, we're going to...
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's great for us to be more knowledge in the sense of understanding and helping out whenever possible. But there's also a really... I mean, what better way than to have your own people helping your own people, right?
Yeah,
and so,
for sure. It's just easier to build like trust and solidarity that way.
But yeah,
I wish it wasn't that way, but that's just the reality of the world we live in. So,
like, screw these police officers and like screw them for not even like having a conversation, just walking away, smug like that. Like, so oh god, that just.
Well, it's either like that or like they just like they know they're fucking evil, so they're just like, I think whatever shred of humanity they have left just like ran away embarrassed like a dog with a tail between its legs, like.
And I felt like, I don't know, maybe I'm looking into it too much. I did feel that a little bit from the female cop. She like was very shut down. She didn't say much at all. I feel like in some ways maybe she did feel a little bit weird about it. Who knows? Maybe she's like working as a side piece under like that other cop or something like that. Like he was very much. Yeah. That old cop spinning that girl around though. But yeah, no, I don't know. Fuck those guys. Like,
yeah, definitely worst Burtons of the week. Those two fucking Edmonton officers
of the month.
Shit. Yeah, of the
Your
month.
First ones of the month. So
you should be dishonored.
Yeah.
Alrighty, but yeah, we're gonna take a little break here, and then we'll come back and zoom out a bit. We'll do some shit that went down in Canada, and then the rest of the world kind of deal. But
sounds good.
Cool. Alrighty, we're back. Let's let's get right into it here. I'm fucking pissed off about this one, but fucking so the NDP put forth a bill for universal pharmacare. Like they had a legal framework for like bringing it into practice.
The federal,
Universal
right?
pharmacare in Canada, which is something that the Liberals campaigned on in this last election specifically.
Right.
But I guess it's something that the federal Liberals, and I guess it's something that they've been like paying lip service to since like 1997. They've been like saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get Pharmacare," and a bill finally came and was tabled, and it got voted down by the overwhelming majority of the Liberals and obviously the Conservatives. So just absolutely just fucking pissed me right the fuck off. You know, like I'm so done with Trudeau and the Liberal Party. Like anybody that has the gall to defend them anymore after that, like I got no fucking time for you. Are you kidding me? Like it's very obviously they just don't want to do it and they just said it to get your goddamn vote. Like
Yeah. Well, and it's ridiculous because I remember I've heard him say about how I don't think he's outright say it like he wants universal pharmacare, but he would like to look into it more. Is I think the term he likes to use a lot of the times.
They love to look into things.
Yeah, it's. I remember in the last federal election during the debates. I mean, Jagmeet has like usually outright just said that that's like one of the policies, and same with like the dental even too, which I think is important. I think we should have. But
it should be. I mean, like that's the thing. Everybody always like. I mean, especially in America, they're always well, like, look to Canada. They have universal health care. That must be so nice. And it's just like, yeah, as long as like you don't need pills for whatever you got, or the fucking like we'll fix your bones unless they're the bones in your mouth. Then you're shit out of luck. And if they rot out, well, fucking too bad. You know, like.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we have it good.
Patchy.
We have it better in a lot of ways than in the States. But
I just think it's almost a lie to call it
thing.
universal health care because it's just like you're not taking care of
your
whole
I
body.
agree. This gets on the argument of privatization versus public, and I don't like getting down that loophole because I don't want to think ever that I would be necessarily in support of private, but it's interesting because this came up in a conversation where I've just like it's interesting to see like so like because of America and like having the situation where I mean you pay for like a bigger surgery like that you need done. The one benefit to that is a lot of the times for certain surgeries there's way better surgeons in the States than there are up here because
they make more money, right?
They make way more money, and so like that's another shitty situation when it comes to that kind of stuff too, right? And it's unfortunate, but I don't really know how you fix that either.
Well, I think the answer is just to pay our surgeons better then.
Yeah.
Right? It's pretty if we're gonna have to play the market game, then you just gotta use market signals to fucking do that. But that's exactly it, right? Like because people will point to like private things like less wait times or things like that, right? And it's just like that's not because private is inherently better than public. It's because our public services have been being cut for fucking half a century now.
Yeah.
And like they have like not enough funding. They can't offer the same services, you know?
And to me, if you even mention any sort of lick of support of privatization, again, that just speaks to privilege. And it speaks to the fact that if you're supporting this, I would say 99% of those people that support it are because they're privileged enough to be able to afford the fact so that they don't have to wait. When we already know that 97% of our population isn't in that category to necessarily afford
99
that. So
probably,
it's just like,
yeah. And that's the thing, because it doesn't just end there, right? Like it's like once you open that door, then it's just they're always gonna be trying to squeezing more profit out of it, right? So even if at first it might seem better, like if it becomes the only game in town, then that's when you get like the wacky insurance bullshit that they have to deal with in the States, right? And then you're getting bled dry by the insurance company and the hospitals are overcharging because it's all private, right? Like it's just kind of once you let that genie out of the bottle, it just eats everything, right? So.
Well, and I think with the Pharmacare thing that's really important and something that drives me nuts when it comes to like just the pharmacy and pharmaceutical industry as a whole, it's like So there's a high demand for a very important medication, and guess it costs a lot to make. I'm assuming because
Sometimes.
there's a justification where like if there's a rare case of something that needs this medication for, and the medication is then created or has been created, that it can cost thousands and thousands of dollars, which
Yeah.
is just mind blowing to me. That it's like I like it just seems fucked up that when if that's the situation, the money is required for the one that won the lottery that has that disease, as compared to that falling under a category of, okay, do we subsidize the pharmaceutical companies that are creating this so that they're able to sell it cheaper, or do we just cover the coverage of the cost using some sort of pharmacare? And I think both is important. I don't know
Yeah, I think you
why
need
the
a mix of
fuck
both.
we can have pharmaceutical companies paying, like charging ridiculous amounts of money for an important medication for someone who may not even have been like, well, generally, like it's just the luck of the draw because they had the kind of genes that got them that disease in the first
Mm-hmm.
place, right? I don't know. It seems kind of fucked up to me. I don't
Yeah,
fully understand the pharmaceutical company. I've read a decent amount of books that dive into a little bit, and but
that's something
most
I
of
want to
mine,
learn more about.
yeah, most of mine involves around addiction, which is like not fully like truly understanding the pharmaceutical company as a whole. I mean, addiction it plays a
Definitely, they
huge
play a
role into it,
role,
but
and I think the pharmaceutical companies also play a role in addiction too.
oh, 100% they do. Yeah.
So,
And so do
yeah, no,
the doctors play probably one of the biggest roles.
definitely, especially down in the States, but I think even
Yeah,
up here
it's
too.
not
Yeah,
as bad up here.
I think it's bad enough, but yeah, no, it's like I think specifically with your example about like a rare medication for like a rare disease, it's like a mix of there's not a big market there, so that's why they're charging so much because they're just not selling as many doses, and if they want to make a profit, and also because yeah, in order to like the R&D, the research and development to create something like that is obviously very expensive too.
Mm-hmm.
So usually what happens is if it's a rare disease and there's no profit motive, they won't even develop the drug, which is sad because then that person doesn't even have the option of a treatment because it's just not
Yeah.
it's not enough of a profit incentive to even treat that disease, which is kind of fucked up. That shouldn't be what determines what diseases get treated. But then yeah, so it's either they're like offsetting the cost of the R&D for such a small market, or just offsetting the fact that it is a small market. And
Mm-hmm. Well, I
yeah,
mean
you're right. That's
that's
just don't make it private then.
yeah. That I mean that's a huge American argument too, in the sense, and not that I necessarily believe this, but I've seen it. I see it come up in a lot of things that I've read where it's just like they make so much money off of cancer treatments in the States. Like, is there a cure that we know more about that isn't happening because of how much money the U.S. market makes off of a disease like cancer?
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it.
I wouldn't
I mean,
doubt it either.
I
It
don't
seems
think
kind of
like
crazy that we're like, I know cancer is a lot more complicated than COVID-19, but it seems a little crazy to me that in a year we're fucking giving vaccines for COVID-19, yet we've had
mhm.
how many fucking years of money and money poured into cancer research, and we don't have something a little bit more than, say, radiation treatment
Yeah.
and shit like that.
Like that's like mostly it's like both like because it's like it's easy to say cure for cancer, but there's like what hundreds if not thousands of different kinds of cancer, so it's
Yeah,
like you can't really
yeah.
make a one all
I know
cure,
it's
but
it's a more complicated than how
but
maybe
at the
I
same
summed that
time
up.
there is
But
something to that in regards to vaccines though, is like that's what people when people are kind of like decrying the fact that like why are they doing it so fast? It's because there was so much funding. That it's not so much that the COVID development was fast, it's that the other ones take too long because again unless they can make a lot of money there's no point, so there's probably lots of things we could vaccine for that they just don't because it's like
mhm.
not worth it to them, and that's pretty fucked up to me. But
Are they charging for the vaccine in the States?
I don't think they're charging people, but like they're making money, they're charging the governments, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. But the government, like in the States, have agreed to not charge the citizens for the vaccine, as
I
far as you know.
hope, I don't know, I would really hope so, but
I would hope so too.
God knows. Yeah,
I
that would be the
seen,
fucking perfect, that just becomes like a poor people disease down there.
hmm
Fuck.
I seen a couple days ago, a day or two ago, that Biden had announced that they have enough vaccines already in the States to have all adults in America vaccinated by the end of April.
Shit.
It's just crazy to me.
Hopefully that happens.
But that's not us. That's the States.
Well, I just want people to.
Yeah, no. I do hope for their sake that does happen. It's just crazy to me that like we're sitting here and I think we just now confirmed in Alberta that all seniors centers have been vaccinated.
Oh, just the centers though, not even just seniors. Like just the long-term care centers?
Like long-term care centers, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because seniors, they only now have just, within the last week, 75 and up are allowed to be vaccinated. So, like, I mean, I'm not too sure. I mean, how much population is 75 and up that's not in a care home? Can't imagine. It's ridiculously high.
Yeah,
but,
probably not. But.
Yeah, so those people are allowed now. And then 100% I think have gotten at least their first vaccine, and then over 50 have gotten their second.
Cool. Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms. That first and second dose shit. Fuck.
Yeah. That's back to COVID. I don't want to get down that.
Yeah, fuck that. Let's I don't want to talk about vaccines. Let's talk.
So we were on Pharmacare. Where are we going next from that?
I don't know. I don't know. I have a bunch of shit here, but I think I'll just touch on things that I think are relevant. Really, I don't know. Did you hear? I thought that was like again perfectly Canadian non-scandal. The whole like palm oil butter thing. Did you hear about that?
No.
There was this whole thing. I think it might have been the Globe and Mail or something, but some Canadian publication published like an opinion column or something like, is your butter extra hard? And then a bunch of people were like, yeah, it's not getting soft at room temperature, blah, 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 which prompted some whole investigation. And then they found out that like Canadian dairy farmers have been feeding their cows palm oil, which is like a big hot button issue, both because it's like palm oil is like really not very environmentally friendly to get. And also it's like probably not very healthy for animals or the people eating those animal products to be consuming. Right. So I don't know. It's just like a whole non-issue. It's just embarrassing. Like, I don't know, even Rachel Notley had a post like, I don't know, mine has been. How's yours? Is your butter any different? I was just like, why the fuck is this a national conversation that we're talking about the hardness of our butter? You want to talk about privilege? Holy fuck. Like,
my butter is so hard right now.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh, God.
But yeah, that's a fucking Canadian crisis. It's not spreading very good on my toast. But yeah, that shit just seemed like the most fucking non-issue. And then there's like a whole bunch of like, now there's like some massive investigation into the fucking Canadian military too. It's just another liberal scandal. Like some dude, like I think there was like allegations against like an old chief of defense or whatever the fuck. And then he retired, and then the new guy came in saying like, okay, we're going to launch an investigation. And then the investigation like ballooned in size, and then he has stepped down because he's probably involved in it too. So now there's just like this whole structural review of like, it's mostly regarded to like sexual harassment and stuff like that. And like they're saying it's like a systemic issue in the Canadian military, which wouldn't surprise me.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
But now there's like, I guess Trudeau's Minister of Defense, I can't remember his name. I think Saijan is his name. But anyway, like now there's something like they might have been aware of that, and that's why they appointed that other general before it even came out, and like almost like a failed cover-up kind of thing.
Oh, so essentially, like we'll fire you and get rid of you so that you don't get yourself into trouble, but you've lost your job.
Basically, yeah. And then the one guy stepped down, and I don't know. It's a whole shit show. Again, just military sucks. Imagine that. But yeah, and I don't know. Fuck Canada. I'm done talking about Canada. Fuck this place. Let's talk about the rest of the world. You were talking about this in regards to like when we mentioned like fake news and stuff like that, and how social media people have like used that as an excuse to like kind of like pick and choose what's allowed on their platform. And so it's not quite related, but I think this is a big deal. Have you heard anything about what's going on in Australia with like Facebook and Google?
No.
So I guess the Australian government tried to put in like, I think it's called like a code, like an income code or something like that. Essentially what they're trying to do is make social media sites or Google pay Australian news organizations for using their content to profit off of, which I think, I mean, whatever. I don't really care if news media companies make money, but it seems fair in that framework. So essentially what they're saying is that like, because nobody's coming to our news sites anymore, we're bleeding money, but they're still reading all the content that we pay to produce. They're just reading it on Facebook or on Google.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So they're like, you should give us a cut then, because we're basically producing content for you at our cost, and then you're taking the profit. Right. And so they tried to put in this law, and now this is like, it's kind of like we're coming to a head now where we're starting to see how powerful these tech monopolies are. Because essentially Facebook tried to like lobby and bully them into not putting it through. And so now, if it's going to go through, they've essentially, ahead of the game, they've just, now you just can't share news articles in Australia if you're on Facebook in Australia. It won't work. You're not allowed to share any news on there.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And Google's threatened to just shut down Google search. Like, you just can't use Google in Australia.
That's bullshit. And like, because they need that money, like, fuck off.
Yeah, right? I know.
No one needs the kind of money that Facebook and Google has produced. So it's just like, it makes sense, because when you think about it, like, yeah, the odd article you actually click open, which would then give that traction and credit to that news source. But unless you actually think about how many people just read the main little pieces that are on Facebook.
Yeah,
and,
like,
and that's where,
whatever,
unfortunately,
blurb.
like, people have really weird arguments because they're not actually diving into the information that's presented. They kind of feel like that they're informed because they see all these 2-sentence articles on Facebook.
Or if it's like the news, or like if the news station is posting the article themselves, they'll have like a little blurb in the post itself. But yeah.
Right.
Beyond that, most people don't go any deeper. But no, it's just, to me, that was just a sign essentially of like, holy fuck, these companies have gotten huge. The fact that they were like pushing around a fucking sovereign country, essentially. Yeah. Like, that's pretty fucked up. Like,
yeah, and I think that's where we were getting to. Is just like, how crazy is it that like these companies who probably, like, it probably wouldn't even affect them any sort of financial matter to help this country out because of this. And instead they're going to be like, no, fuck you, fuck your citizens. Like, if they want to use our programs the way they were intended to use, then we're not going to pay you.
Yeah, essentially. And I like the point, because like for me it was like all abstract, like power stuff, you know, like they shouldn't have the power to do that. But when it comes down to just brass tacks, you're like, what the fuck? Like, really? They need more money? Like they're fighting that hard for probably. And like, even I think in the, like, Google itself said that like only 5%, or no, Facebook, only like 5% of content that people access on there is news stuff. So it's like a drop in the bucket to them. But yeah, they're just so defensive over whatever little fucking pennies they can be.
Yeah.
You were like, yeah, what? They need more money? I was like, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Little fucking entitled little fucks. Just every little drop, eh?
Yeah.
But yeah, I did like, it's so like just the fucking double speak of like these PR company guys, just like, so this is a quote from Google's managing director in Australia, Mel Silva, says that the principle of unrestricted linking between websites is fundamental to search, and coupled with the unmanageable financial and operational risk if this version of the code were to become law, it would give us no real choice but to stop making Google search available in Australia, she said. Withdrawing our services from Australia is the last thing Google wants to have happen, especially when there's another way forward. But it's just like, yeah, I'm sure it's the last thing you want to have happen, right? Like,
yeah, I don't know though. I feel like that's kind of dumb on their part though. Like, I know, I can see where they're coming from. Well, let's go with the power stance, but at the same time, it's like, yes, Google is by far the best search engine, but there are other search engines out there, and I mean, you have Microsoft's, you have other ones, and then Apple's been rumored to be developing their own. So it's just like, it's gonna take a corporation like, and I'm not giving Apple credit, like they're great people, but I could honestly see them just saying, okay, well, we're gonna partner with Australia and say fuck you, Google, and just kind of come in. I could see them coming in almost like a hero role like that, like to try and like pose it like they're some special group, even though they're just as bad as the rest.
People would eat it up for sure, right?
Yeah, but people would, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a little bit of some bullshit, but I didn't really have any other big kind of, I mean, as far as like corporations fucking people over though, I did want to touch on, did you hear about like that? There's a whole winter storm in Texas and then they had all those fucking blackouts.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to read about, because at first, like when it was first kind of going down, they were essentially saying like it was just like an operational failure kind of thing, like just something fucked up. And then it came to light that what happened was because like essentially what happened was because a couple of them did shut down or something. Essentially what happened was that like the price of energy skyrocketed, like this price of natural gas or something that they were using to create the energy. And so because in that moment that it skyrocketed, the energy companies were going to lose a lot of money. So they just shut down power plants on purpose. Like they purposely caused the blackouts to avoid a huge loss. And like a lot of people fucking died, and like shit, like whether it was hospitals losing power or just it was so fucking cold that, and people that are not used to it living in Texas, like yeah, there's some real fucking human cost to doing that. And to find out that it was literally just so that they didn't lose money was pretty fucked up.
That is. And yeah. And it's like, it's fucked up thinking too that this could potentially be a reoccurring thing that happens in Texas, and is this just going to be their go-to thing to solve that issue?
Well, exactly right, and it all comes down to like basically deregulating the energy market, right? Because before there's certain regulations, like certain like power needs provided, no matter like just kind of laws and regulations to make sure things like this don't happen. But we've had kind of a 40 years of deregulating things kind of around the world, and that's the shit that happens. And what I found really why I wanted to bring it up is because TransAlta has been guilty of doing that here in Alberta.
Right.
So like intentionally just manipulating the energy market so as to either make more money or to prevent losses. And so yeah, it's just something I wanted to bring to light. It's just like this deregulation shit is getting more and more troublesome, to put it lightly.
Just another comparison of Alberta to Texas.
Yeah, I guess there's another fucking parallel. Jesus. But yeah, and then what was funny too is that kind of after the fact, down in Texas, there was some renegotiation that essentially those the companies that did lose money during that spike, now they could just pass those costs on to the consumers in Texas. So the people that had their power shut off are having to pay more money now. It's fucking absurd.
That's ridiculous.
Just kind of like an overall view of the world is just things are bad, I guess. Specifically in America. It's just shit's wild. Like Biden opened up more of those fucking detention centers or whatever for fucking migrant children.
Really?
Yeah, like the whole rally cry about we need to vote Trump out because he's putting children in cages. Well, guess who's putting kids in cages? Actually opening more cages. It's fucking old Biden's administration. So that's not nice. But a little bit of good news that I did like. I don't know. Were you like that whole Bolivia coup situation that went down a couple years ago? Were you aware of that at all?
I don't think so.
So there was like a weird kind of like an election crisis kind of thing. Like there's Evo Morales, and he's like an indigenous political leader down in Bolivia. And so a little while back, it was pretty historic, like a big deal when he won, and he's been like kind of governing in the name of the people, I guess is the best way you could put it. Like he's had a lot of like education and like healthcare programs and things like that, and like kind of working to eradicate poverty in Bolivia. And of course, that doesn't sit well with people up here in North America that rely on cheap resources down there, right? So the election was really close, and then there was kind of like some fishy shit where they claimed election fraud on his part, and then they installed this Yanine Áñez chick to stand as interim president. And so she's the kind of person who marched into their parliament with a Bible waving around, right? We're going to bring Christ back into the government and yada, yada, yada. Like kind of one of these really reactionary far right-wing chicks. And so essentially they were only like in there for like maybe a year, I think, or something like that. And then they've had a re-election since, and Morales has got back in, or not Morales, but someone in his party. And so I don't know, it's tough because it's like macroeconomics bullshit, but like essentially how we enslave developing countries is to just saddle them with a bunch of debt, usually through the IMF, like the International Monetary Fund or whatever the fuck foundation. I don't know. The IMF, though, essentially, they offer these loans to poor countries, charge insane interest, and then when they can't make those payments, obviously, we like legislate like, okay, well, then you have to cut healthcare. You have to cut education if you can't pay these loans, you know? So it's kind of like a structural way to keep them poor.
Yeah.
So during that transition, this Áñez chick filed for a shit ton of loans with the IMF, essentially to saddle Bolivia with a bunch of debt and make them a nice resource extraction place, right? But this new government, that since they got back in, they just paid all the loans up front with the interest and said, fuck you, we're not taking these loans. So that was just like, ooh, nice. A little bit of good news. They just basically kind of said, no,
That's
fuck
awesome.
you, we're not going to be enslaved. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
there's not. That's like that's like a little bit of good news. A couple more pieces of shit from the U.S. to touch on before. There's one cool thing that we can end it off with, but I mean, I didn't like to see. I just thought it was funny. But the whole impeachment, the second impeachment trial thing went down in February. If we're doing a review of the month here, and of course Trump got acquitted, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what was your take on that when that was all going down? I didn't really know what to think of it.
I didn't know what to think of it. I think we touched on it on a previous cast a little bit, but it was just like my feelings were like, well, he's gone. Like, does it really matter? But at the same time, I have very little faith in the people of the United States to not vote him in again, as well as not even on a presidential like voting standpoint. I just feel like criminally he should be investigated, which I feel like still from what I've read, it's still the case. Like, just because the impeachment didn't go through does not mean that he will not be criminally charged. So, like, the impeachment, it is what it is. I didn't really expect it to happen.
Yeah, essentially. And I guess that just means, like, Congress isn't going to prosecute him, right? When they acquitted him?
Yeah.
But, like, maybe, like, a state or somebody could?
Yeah, I can't remember the person's name, so it's going to sound really weird. But when I read the article, and it was a higher up person that I've heard their name before quite a few times when it comes to American politics, they said even though this has happened, like, Donald Trump will be criminally charged and will face the consequences to what he incited. So, I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. I could see him weaseling his way out of that as well, but
oh, for sure. When it's more so, again, this is probably something I've echoed on other episodes too, but that's the thing, right? Like, once you're president, that means you can't be held accountable, you know? Like, that's the nature of the office. So, like, even if all the other people in government don't like him, I think they understand the value of the presidency being above reproach more so than they hate him, kind of thing, you know? It's more important to protect that office than it is to get after Trump. So yeah, I haven't really heard much from him though. He kind of just disappeared once they took away his Twitter account, and he's kind of just gone now.
And I feel like I think he's smart enough to understand that maybe that's the best thing for him right now is to disappear and then just kind of come back in a little while, and knowing how a majority of people think they probably won't remember it, or he'll be the host of his TV show or something.
Oh man, I hope fucking Trump News Network happens. That will be hilarious.
Yeah, that too.
That'll break the brains of so many more people. Like, already Facebook has done it, but like, if they can just get it like directly in their veins, you know, like just one network all day, 24 hours. Oh boy, that'll be
I
awesome.
can't imagine that. That'll be sad, but
yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if it happened.
Oh, but poor Trump. If he does make the news network, he won't be able to get old Rush Limbaugh on there. Because that motherfucker died in February, too. So
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Rest in peace. In piss, you piece of shit. No, I liked that it was like, basically he died, and then within 2 hours, Rest in Peace, or Rest in Piss was trending on Twitter.
Oh my god.
Made me so happy.
But it's awesome.
Yeah. Just unreal. But yeah, like, he's just a bad man. Like, he's the guy that was just like, basically like defending like Trayvon Martin being killed and stuff. He's like one of those fucking kind of guys, right? So
yeah,
the world did not lose much with him, but
no, definitely not.
One other news story that I thought was funny, I don't know, it's alleged, so nobody really, there's no like proof or anything, but did you hear what North Korea was accused of doing recently in the middle of February?
I'm not actually sure, to be honest.
Apparently South Korea is claiming that North Korea hacked Pfizer and like stole the vaccine data to just develop their own.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the claim. Actually,
that's
I don't know.
Interesting.
Part of me is like, fuck yeah. Like, shouldn't that just be freely available to everyone if we're in a global pandemic? Like,
yeah, like that's kind of sad in some ways. Like, I not that I would support North Korea usually, but like you're right. Like, is that a big deal? Like, they should be able to have it, I guess. And I don't know. It's crazy that we live in a world where you can patent a thing that saves people,
Saves
and
lives.
essentially because yeah, and so because you own that, you can hold that over everyone's heads and just say, "You'll
Charge
never
whatever you
get
want.
this. You'll never get this." Yeah, it's just like,
Or that, yeah.
fuck
If it's North Korea, yeah.
like, that's bullshit. Like, I don't know. It's just like, you could think, and I get it. I get there's this rationale that's just like, oh, we put in the work, like we deserve the money from the countries, but why not?
But even that's funny. Like, you think the research and development people that actually put in the work to develop it are seeing the profit?
Oh, absolutely
No.
not. No.
Yeah, right. So
Those are the people that are probably making $20, $25 an
yeah,
hour.
no, they're getting a free internship for experience in a lab.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought that was pretty fucking funny though. But to end this little review of the shit show of February, I just on a like positive kind of optimistic note, I thought it was pretty fucking cool that they landed another rover on Mars, like the Perseverance or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
That's pretty fucking
I
cool.
fucking love space shit, man. Like, it's cool.
Me too. And especially because like I didn't know that they're trying to bring this one back. Like, it's like collecting specimens and stuff, and then we're trying to bring it back to Earth in 2030.
I feel like I read that. I feel like I did read that the whole point of this one was to try and get something back.
No, it's pretty fucking cool. I mean, I don't know what
I've seen some other thing. I know this is a complete side note, but this is going to get on a space conversation.
Yeah.
But there's a company that's hoping, I think, by 2025 or 26 to have a fully fledged space hotel where people can just go stay in
like in orbit.
Yeah,
that's fucking crazy. That'll be cool.
Yeah,
I mean, fuck.
Not that we'll ever have the money to afford that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
But yes, I'm on the fence. I've been asked this before. It's like, if you were offered a free trip to space, would you take it? And like, I don't know if I would, man. I think I would die from a panic attack just being in the fucking space shuttle.
Yeah,
like,
it'd be spooky, but I think I'd probably do it. That sounds fucking wild.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a time to go, that's the time. But
fucking wild.
I don't know.
A space hotel, eh? Jesus.
Yeah.
We are moving. Have you ever seen that? I mean, it's fucking cliche, I guess, but that movie Elysium with old Matt Damon.
Oh no, I haven't.
I
know what one you're talking about now.
Yeah, it's like kind of rough. Like there's like some parts where it kind of struggles, but overall, like especially conceptually, I thought it was fucking really cool. But yeah, essentially there's just this like it's like kind of post climate change. There's this orbiting space station where like rich people live, and then the poor just have to work jobs like on Earth to like supply them basically. Like,
jeez,
just
is that how old?
Seems a little more prophetic than I'd like. It's in like the 2010s, I think. It's that Neil Blomkamp, like the guy that did District 9 and Chappie.
Oh, shit. I heard they were writing a District 9 sequel.
I really like his shit. What? Really?
Yeah. I just read
that.
I
don't even know how you do that. Ago. Interesting. I still kind of lament the Halo movie we never got that became District 9.
Oh, yeah, right. I forgot about that, actually.
Yeah, it was like in production, produced by like Peter Jackson and shit, and then it got like funding pulled or something, and then they changed course because District 9 was like based on a short film he'd already made, so he like I don't know, had like the idea for a feature film already. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, maybe everybody will get to go to space and it'll serve all of us rather than
just
a rich luxury hotel.
Inhabit a new planet.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, do the Wall-E thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. That's like a fairly erratic and kind of all over the place review of what I found interesting in February.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good though. I like this format. I think it's going to be an interesting format. Hopefully the viewers like it. And
for sure. And I think moving forward, I'll grab things that I think will, rather than just making sure I'm hitting everything that I found noteworthy, I'll try to grab things that maybe will foster like more of a discussion, because I don't want to have to just like rant about the fucking IMF and macroeconomics. Nobody wants to hear that. So
yeah, no, I'm not the most knowledge on that part.
Nobody should be. Any sane person wouldn't spend their time learning about this shit. So
yeah.
It's my own pathology, but no, yeah, and looking forward to it. So next step,
Next
we're gonna
up,
do a
we
little
got,
93 to infinity.
Yeah, in 2 weeks from now, and
Tight.
make
Sounds
sure
good
to
to
check
me.
us out on all the socials there, people. On the old Spotify, Instagram, YouTubes,
Yee. Spotify.
and pretty much everywhere you listen to podcasts except Apple.
Yeah, basically, yeah. We'll have to like beg them to put us on there, maybe. I don't know how it works, but yeah. All right, everybody, take fucking care out there. I'm sure things will just get wackier, or they might be better.
Stay safe.
We'll never know. Let's hope. Yeah. On that note, I hope to talk to you guys in a month on this episode. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks about some pop culture stuff, but I hope in a month I get to say, psych, no third wave, never mind.
Yes, no third wave, please. For the love of God, no third wave.
Alrighty, yeah. Follow
All
us
right,
on our
Cody.
shit and have a good time, everybody.
Peace.
Later.